Welcome to Trouble with Tish. I'm Tish and I have trouble. If you are a returner, welcome back. Today we have a Beauty Ninja Mask Monday, and I am going to finally continue on with the book I've been reading, Rise of the Deva'shi, The Chronicles of Partholon. This is by Jennifer Alice Provost, so if you want to find out what happens in chapter 13, stay tuned.
Troubles on the mind, hands around your throat, out in open waters trying to stay afloat. Remember to forget.
Alright, so real quick, we have the Honey Peach Revitalizing Mask from Muyam. I got this from Mountain Witch Christine. She is another Beauty Ninja. This is a collaboration with the Beauty Ninjas, so there's a link in the description box. Go check out what the other ladies have going on for their Mask Mondays. And let me grab this out and put it on. I'll be right back. Alright, this smells slightly of peaches, and which I actually really like, so we are going to start back up with chapter 13. The next time my eyes opened, I was surrounded by such bright sunlight that it took them several moments to adjust. I was not in my bed or in my chamber, and I was surrounded by hanging fabric. As the blurs took shape, I realized I was in an unfamiliar room, although the gray stone of the one uncurtained wall told me I remained in Tegernon. I remembered the blood burn, and my hand went to my back only to discover thick layers of bandages. I struggled to sit up and learned I was wearing a loose tunic and leggings that I did not remember putting on, and many shawls and blankets were wrapped around me. I was horribly, swelteringly hot, and still felt the strong thirst that had last woken me. I struggled to ask where I was, or for some water, but my dusty throat would produce no sound. A curtain drew back from the foot of the cot, and Elmar appeared at my side, and held a bowl of something warm to my lips. "It tastes horrible, but you need to drink this," he said softly. He held the back of my head with one hand and tipped the bowl with the other, and something akin to swamp mixed with fire flowed into my mouth. I tried to pull away, but he held me firmly, thus forcing me to finish every drop. When I had consumed all of the repugnant liquid, he put his arms around me, holding me to his chest. "Where am I?" I croaked. "I had to bring you to the healer's ward. After you fell asleep, you were taken by fever dreams, making you delirious," he said. His voice betrayed his concern. I swallowed hard, willing my voice to work. "Who dressed me?" I asked. "Anetha. She says you're quite lovely." I looked up at him, my wrinkling brow asking why he called on her. "Her rooms are next to yours, and I thought you would be more comfortable if it wasn't me." I imagined him waking Anetha in the middle of the night, only to assist the first hunter with his feverish madwoman. "Am I sick?" I asked, with only the slightest croak. "The matriarch says the demons were poisoned, and they passed it to you by way of their blood burn. We have been waiting for your fever to break for 2 days now," he replied as he stroked my cheek. I took in his bedraggled appearance for the first time. He was wearing what I had last seen him in, and he looked as if he had not slept in days. Before I could ask him of these things, something else burst to the forefront of my mind. "Arknan!" I exclaimed, which was more of a harsh whisper, thanks to my dry throat. "Is he poisoned as well?" Elmar gently turned me towards a second curtained area at the far end of the room. "We are still waiting for his fever to break. His burns are much more severe than yours. If you had not asked me to stay with you, you could have died before morning," he said softly. "After we brought you here, Anetha went to check on him, and she was almost too late." He drew me back to his chest, and while I remained ridiculously overheated, I snuggled into his arms. "The demons were a trap, then," I said slowly. "They poisoned their own to poison us." I gazed up at him, tears welling up in my eyes as at the thought of how he cared, not only for me, but for all his hunters. "Thank you for keeping me safe. I owe you my life." "I will keep you safe forever, my love," he said, as he smoothed my hair. "You must be so tired," I said, as I moved to the side of the cot. "Rest here with me." He began to protest that he had a chair to sit in and did not want to push me to the side when I was the one who was ill, but I would hear none of it. At last he relented, claiming he would only sit with me for a moment, and that I needed to rest, but in short time he was asleep with his head in my lap. I ran my fingers through his hair and hoped he knew it was my turn to watch over him. I watched the healers come and go, carrying their foul-smelling decoctions and bundles of dried herbs, and eventually one came to me with an ewer of cool, clean water, which I gratefully accepted. I asked after Arknan, and she shared that while he was not awake, he was responding well, and she hurried off to his side. I silently asked the gods for him to awaken soon. After a time, and much to my surprise, Finley and Anetha came to my bedside. I moved to awaken Aylmar, but Finley shook his head, then made his way to Arknan's cot. Anetha sat in the chair next to me and quietly asked how I was faring. "I feel as if I had been packed full of desert sand," I hoarsely replied. "I have drained 2 pitchers of water and my throat is still dry and dusty." "You were on fire when I came to you," she whispered back, "and so slick with sweat I could hardly lift you." "Aylmar told me how you helped me." "Thank you," I said as she patted my arm. "We are here to look out for each other, little one," she replied. "I believe I helped your first hunter more than I helped you. He was in quite a state, raving of how he could not wake you." "It would have been faster if he just brought you here himself," she added, a sly smile on her lips. I smiled to myself and admitted that she had a point. For all my newfound modesty, I would not have cared who dressed me. I wondered if she was going to ask how Aylmar and I happened to be in bed together with my dress half torn away, but she did not, and quietly kept me company. I turned my attention back to my sleeping charge, and thought that we must have been a strange sight. He was so tall and broad-shouldered, he barely fit on the cot. As it were, if he had lain flat on his back, his feet would have dangled off the edge. His body was oddly curled around me, with his arms encircling my waist, and I resumed stroking his soft hair. Anetha, who watched me carefully, said, "You two make quite the pair." "Yes, we do," I replied, ignoring her usual sarcasm. She watched us for a time before she continued. "Despite his many faults, he will be good to you," she said, never taking her eyes from my hand. "Faults?" I inquired, raising my brow. "Impatience, jealousy, the way he flies into a rage over the slightest offense," she said with the wave of her hand, as if she was only stating the obvious. "I'm sure you've seen these, and more." I dropped my eyes from her face, not wanting to give her the satisfaction of admitting she was right. "When he acts this way, it's only because he knows of no other way to be," she continued. "He's very protective of those he cares about. Hells, he's even protective of me, and we've been at each other's throats since the day we met." I faced her again, and I saw an unexpected sincerity in her doe eyes. "He has lost almost everything and everyone he cares for, and he will fiercely hold on to whatever is left. Remember, little one, he only behaves like a madman for those he loves." I just watched her, slightly confounded by her efforts to make me see Aylmar as a good man, for wasn't it obvious that I already knew? Before I could question her, Finley returned and advised us that Arknan was beginning to stir and the healers had chased him away. "I fear I do not have the presence of Aylmar," he said, and when I asked what he meant, he replied, "They have been trying to get him to leave right along, but he flat out refused, arguing that he will not leave you here alone. He's hardly let them touch you, and only he has given you the healing drinks." "I have him to thank for this horrible taste in my mouth?" I asked with a wry grin. "Yes, him alone," Finley replied, with a knowing smile of his own. "Come along, Anetha. Let's leave before he knows we were watching him sleep." Anetha stood to follow, then whispered over her shoulder that she will be glad to dress me again, should I be in need of her services. Finley raised an eyebrow, but I waved him away. After they departed, a healer asked if Aylmar could be moved to his own cot, but I shooed her away as well, explaining that we could not be parted, not even for a moment. She shook her head as she left me, all the while muttering about unruly hunters. I slowly slid down the cot until Aylmar and I were face to face, taking great care not to wake him. I watched him sleep as I listened to the cadence of his breath, unable to take my eyes from him. I could not stop staring at my beautiful warrior. he who was so kind and selfless with me. When his eyes opened, I greeted him with a smile. "You are wonderful," I proclaimed, "the kindest, most wonderful man that has ever lived, and I love you with all my heart." He looked as if he would kiss me, but remembered where we were and thought better of it. "What have I done to deserve such praise?" he asked. "Finley and Annetha were here while you slept," I said. "They told me how you cared for me." "They saw me sleeping on your cot?" he asked, rubbing his eyes. "I will never hear the end of this." "It is worse," I whispered with a grin. "Annetha has told Finley that she needed to dress me." He shook his head, imagining the torment he would endure. "In the future, I give you leave to dress me yourself." "I will happily comply," he answered as he pressed my fingers to his lips. I sat up against the wall and he followed suit, and did not look pleased as I threw off another shawl. A healer came, rushing over. I thought to bundle me again, but she whispered that Arknan was awake. I instantly moved to rise when Aylmar halted me. "You are to rest," he said firmly. "I will go." I settled back down, and the healer did indeed start tucking blankets and additional layers around me, prattling on how I needed to stay warm. I hardly noticed her as I watched Aylmar crouch next to Arknan and quietly tell him what had transpired. He called for water, and once Arknan had slaked his thirst, Aylmar told him to rest and build his strength. He exchanged a few words with the healers, and then returned to his seat next to me. "As I told you, his burns are much more extensive than yours," he shared. "His arms and neck are covered, as well as one of his legs. You were fortunate to dispatch the beast." "I don't feel fortunate," I said softly as he squeezed my hand. "When may I leave and return to my rooms?" "When you are well," he said, as his stern face told me he would suffer no argument. "When will you leave?" I asked, dreading the thought of being in this room alone. "When you are well," he repeated, and not a moment sooner, to the matriarch's great displeasure. We sat in silence for a time, each of us dozing off in turn, until I felt I would go mad if I spent another moment on that cot. I begged him to tell the matriarch, a firm but kind woman named Malia, that I had regained my strength, and after much cajoling he agreed to speak with her. She checked me herself, feeling various points on my neck and arms, then wrapped my bandages and gave me strict instructions that I was to rest and remain as warm as possible. A Saphira was sent to fetch me fresh clothing, but as my door remained charmed, Aylmar reluctantly left me to open the room. While they were gone, Malia assembled a great bundle of herbs and ointments and made me recite the usage of each. When my clothes arrived, Malia drew the curtains and helped me dress. I protested that I could manage on my own, but was grateful for her support when I tried to stand and promptly fell to my knees. "You have not used your legs in days," she said with her kind voice. "Give them a moment to remember they are legs." Once I was suitably attired, she brought me to where Aylmar impatiently waited, but would not release me until he received his own set of instructions. He needed to support me as I walked, as I was quite unsteady. I could not be left alone for at least 3 days, and he was to keep me warm and covered at all times. He slipped his arm around my waist and agreed to each and every condition. When we approached my door, it swung open of its own volition, startling me so much I almost fell. "An effect of the charm," he explained as it swung shut behind us. I looked around my chambers, for I felt as if I had been gone much longer than 2 days, and I was so grateful to return. My gown from the sola remained crumpled on the floor. When Aylmar's back was to me, I snatched it up and tossed it into the hearth. "I never liked it," I said, after I whispered the words to make it burn. But in reality I did not want him to know how much he had torn it, and it was stuck to the burn quite badly. It may have the poison on it. I moved toward the balcony, politely declining his hand as I was so enjoying my regained ability to move about. It proved to be much more of an exertion than I expected, and when I dropped against the stone railing, I did not protest as he helped me up. "You should rest," he said as he stood behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. "I have been resting for 2 days. My eyes refuse to close," I said as I leaned against him. "How long can you remain with me, away from all the first hunter does?" "You heard Malia. You cannot be left alone. You are now my charge." he said as he picked me up, ignoring my protests yet again, and carried me to my bed. Despite my talk of being thoroughly rested, I was soon asleep again. Once more, my eyes fluttered open, and Aylmer was beside me. He murmured that I could rest, and he was there, and that all would be well. Alright, next week we have chapter 14. It's a good thing that we're stopping there. I'm starting to get very dizzy. Like I said, this is a collab with the Beauty Ninjas. I have a link in the description box. Go check everyone else out. Go see what they got going on for their Mask Mondays. I love the smell of this. It's kind of cucumbery, a little bit peachy. It feels very good. Big thank you to Christine for sending it to me. It's still wet. Been sitting here for like at least 30 minutes, maybe 45 with it on. That's a good mask. Didn't rub it all in. Oh, this is gonna... should soak in nicely. Oh yeah. Skin is gonna drink it up. Alright, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. All the good stuff is below as well. Thank you guys for sticking around while I've been out. If you need any more information on where I've been, what's been going on, last Monday I explained it all. But moving forward, I will be doing Mask Mondays and reading the story. I just won't be doing the Friday videos. I have some videos that I can put up on Fridays, so there will be videos on Fridays. Like I said, check out the other ladies. I hope every single one of you has an absolutely amazing day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.
Troubles on the mind, hands around your throat, out in open waters trying to stay afloat. Remember to forget.